Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Rebel Assault 2: The Hidden Empire for DOS, released by LucasArts back in 1995. Now I just did a review on the PlayStation version of this game, and I didn't have any intentions on doing this review so quick, but I was looking for something and I found my binder of computer discs. This game was sitting in there with Rebel Assault 1 and a whole bunch of other games that I'm happy to find. I kind of figured it might be good to compare these two, because the PlayStation game handled pretty rough, and that is actually really fresh in my memory, so comparing the two now, it seemed like a good idea. I was also really wondering about the quality of the graphics. Both games have 2 discs worth of data, but of course with the PlayStation, it's a fixed environment. When you deal with any console, you have to remember that if I have a PlayStation and a game, and you have a PlayStation and a game, you can expect those things are going to be the same. But when you're dealing with PC versions, it's not the same. Things were very different in the 90s. Computers could have vastly different hardware sets, and these games had to compensate. Now on the PC version here, I installed it through DOSBox, and only one level gave me some problems, and I'm pretty sure it's just because the disc was dirty. But I did manage to access all the levels and play it, so it was a lot of fun. Now first, on the PC, that's unlike the PlayStation, you have a settings menu, and there are a bunch of different settings that you can adjust. This was very common to PCs in the 90s. They had to program games to work on a whole bunch of machines with different specs, so the developers had to offer interfaces like this to let you fine-tune your experience. You needed to match the game to your graphics card and your sound hardware. Yeah, back in the 90s, you had to buy a sound card for your machine. It was totally a separate chip. Now they're just integrated, and it's just one less thing you never have to worry about. The most important setting in this game, I think, is the frame rate. We're working with full motion video here, and of course, the higher your frame rate, the smoother the imagery, but this one here, this is a really tough game, and you are not getting no 60 frames a second out of this one. I think you top it 20. This is something you just have to get used to. Now the levels in the story, they're the same between the 2 different versions. At its most basic, you are a rebel pilot, and you uncover some sort of an Empire plan. Basically, they're building a new type of TIE fighter, and it can cloak. It's a really good looking TIE fighter, I have to say, but your job is to stop this from being created. Now, it's a rail shooter, and it's really difficult. In this game, this particular version offered more options than the PlayStation version when it came to difficulty levels. I have to play this one on Novice to get anywhere with these levels, and even still, I get wiped out a ton. There are some levels where I'm moving the mouse so fast, I cannot fathom how it could be handled in a higher difficulty. I imagine many of the PlayStation versions of this game never got beaten. Now, certain levels in this version do feel easier than the PlayStation version, but at the same time, I found certain levels just seemed harder. Now, I think the biggest handling difference here with the PC is that I'm using a mouse. Now, the early ship levels, which is you just flying around shooting fighters down, it becomes very doable with the mouse. It's far easier to control a reticle with the mouse than using the PlayStation controller. I played this on the first level, and I was feeling great. I was shooting stuff down left and right. Not always with every level, though. When I got to the mining level, which is just a few levels away, I thought it was more difficult in the PlayStation version. I was getting wiped out left and right. I don't know why it would be so much harder with the mouse, but it really felt like it was. The speeder bike level was also really rough on PC, and I don't know why that is either. I just did not make it far. It made me think that I needed to bust the difficulty down even further. You also get flying levels that are a combination of sort of dodging and shooting. So it's like being on rails, but you're not fully on rails. The thing is, it's not easy to dodge in this game. This particular version even gives you symbols sometimes that you need to dodge, but that's not easy to do. I'm trying to do what it's telling me to do on screen, and I continue to die. All you can really do is move the reticle off to one side, but knowing exactly when to do it is a problem. The PC game at least tells you when you're supposed to do it. The PlayStation version doesn't. You're going to run into this sort of an issue here when you're working with the asteroid levels in particular. You'll have to dodge asteroids, and then there are also going to be these mines or turrets that pop up in space that'll shoot you. So you need to dodge and try to shoot at the same time. It gets really confusing. I think that's also one of the things with this game. Sometimes these enemies just pop up and shoot, and they do it so fast. You really have to be in the zone to see a target and shoot it in less than a second and dodge. You really got to be good at this. This actually makes me wonder if the type of mouse that you use might make a difference. The mice that you used to buy with a PC back in the 80s and 90s, they weren't optical. They offered accuracy by you sliding across a mouse pad. There was an actual physical ball inside the unit. I find myself wondering if that would make a difference here or not. Maybe? Maybe it helps handling, I don't know. Just certain levels, handling seems far too difficult. I get messed up constantly in places where you're wondering, why am I dying so quick? I don't know. I think the graphics look really close to what I experienced with the PlayStation. Really close. Maybe it's a little smoother on PC, and I do think that the resolution might be a bit different. When I get myself killed in the mining tunnels, the ship I'm driving just looks better on PC. Not sure. Overall, it is definitely minor. What I do like with this version is you can adjust the brightness setting within the game. That really helps out on some of the levels. I know the PlayStation version seemed really dark to me. Granted, I'm using a modern monitor and I'm pumping it through a computer. I still had to bump up the footage using the video recording software to try to make it more viewable because it was so dark. The PC version lets you do this at the game level. One of the levels in the game near the end, it makes me think of the Sega game Sewer Shark. You're racing around this huge tunnel system trying to destroy a base. It just felt exactly like what that game was to me. Game I'm going to have to look at eventually. Now, ultimately, when you talk about this story here, it's fine. It's sort of standard fare. I guess it still brings me back to the one question, the one Star Wars question I always have. Why does the Empire keep building these gigantic structures that let you fly ships inside? The Rebels always seem to be flying ships inside these structures and destroying them, so why would you make them like that? I don't know. And I also don't understand, where do they keep getting the funding to build projects like this? Well, that's all I have today for Rebel Assault 2 for DOS PC. Thanks for stopping by to take a look. If this is your type of thing, please feel free to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I hope to catch you on another video.